Just listen to what Brandon Lake just said on the George Janko podcast. And I'll be right back.
So I came home from my first tour, here's the first problem. I didn't go home and decompress with my wife and my family. We went immediately to Disney World, which some people will say it's heaven. I think it's hell on earth. I go to Disney, full-blown panic attack by day 2. I went from being like on top of the world to I felt more insecure and scared. And I was like, I don't even recognize myself. What's crazy is I tried to feel, even before going to God, as a Christian for a long time, I was still trying to fill this void I felt with my wife. Instead of like going to God, I was like still going to a good thing. I should talk to my wife. What I learned over those next few months is I was still trying to fill the void, even with intimacy, like with my wife, which is a great thing. But she's like, hey, what's going on with you? Like, you need me like way more than, like, this isn't normal. And it came to a point one day she goes, I cannot fill what you are looking to get filled. You only God can do that, and you're trying to use me to fill that.
Incredible woman.
And incredible. And so I actually started going to counseling.
What is that void that Brandon Lake is talking about in this video? What is that void that still remains after being a Christian for more than 20 years?
He can fill that cosmic void in your heart, because that void in your heart is made because you're made in the image of God. And without God, there's a void there that only God can fill.
Many years ago, we were told that you and I had a grave illness, a God-shaped hole in our hearts. And in order to fix that illness, you and I tried cheap over-the-counter knockoff medication, like money, sex, rock and roll.
Drugs can't fill it. Sex can't fill it. Alcohol can't fill it. Friendships can't fill it. The church even can't fill it. Religion can't fill it. But the person of Jesus Christ can fill it and can give you a brand new life.
Until one day, you and I reconsidered our ways, decided to listen, and do what the spiritual doctors told us. We took the ultimate cure against God-shaped holitis, God Himself. We invited God into our lives, and that should have fixed the problems. But did it? Why do we still feel the loss and the emptiness or the void? How come Brandon Lake still feels that void? So if the cure is perfect, given that the cure is God, then it is logical that the problem lies with us. We gotta be taking our medication wrong, or at least I'm sure that's what you've been told whenever you voice these feelings of emptiness. I know I have. The counter diagnosis was basically, we are doing it wrong. We are doing Christianity wrong. Okay, enough of that. Let me propose an alternative. I think we have commodified God in order to fix a problem that we shouldn't be fixing nor be calling a problem. We have been misdiagnosed, and we have not spent enough time questioning the diagnosis we were given. And this is not surprising at all. Humans are a problem-solving species. You and I have evolved to fix a problem, not necessarily to question the problem. Misdiagnosed, I say? Well, yes. There is a reason why a God-shaped whole gospel is something biblical authors knew nothing about. Biblical authors never described humans as being born with a hole in our hearts, nor that any feeling of loss or emptiness or void that you feel inside is necessarily a hole that's waiting to be filled by God. The reality is that this sense of void or loss or emptiness that many of us feel on a somewhat regular basis is not something that God is going to fix. Why? Well, because it's not a problem to fix. This sense of loss is part of what being human is. Our conscious or unconscious awareness of memory of what was but can no longer be, that is part and parcel of the magical gift of consciousness. This sense of loss we experience has been with us ever since the birth of our consciousness, which most experts think happened around 18 months or 2 years of age. This is the crucial moment in which we realize that we are other, that we are not part of our surroundings. In that season, we are able to understand that we are not our mother. We are other than our father. We are not our home, our crib. An embodied sense of separation is created. And that is the moment when we first experience this sense of loss. And this is a separation that will never be healed, a sense of loss that will never be healed. And in our lives, there are a series of moments like this. Humans live in a constant state of loss. We lose people. We lose seasons in our lives. We lose communities. We lose that sense of self in a moment in time, in a moment in our development. We lose and we lose and we lose. And this is all part and parcel of the magical gift of consciousness, of awareness. That this sense of loss is not a problem to be eradicated. What we need are better ways of understanding and dealing and interacting with this reality. We don't need techniques in order to eliminate it, for it is at the core of who we are as human beings. Most of this issue, as I know you understand, emerges with the elevator pitch that we were giving about our relationship with God. We were told that we had this void in our soul, and that inevitably we would seek to fill this emptiness with idols, money, fame, sex, and that there was a much better alternative to that: God. And thus we turned God into a better idol that can meet our needs, that can cover those empty spaces. This is what Peter Rollins calls the idolatry of God, seeking after God as the best tool for my self-improvement, self-actualization, and overall happiness. The idolatry of God, the reduction of God into an artifact that has the power to grant us whatever sense of fulfillment we're looking for. The commodification of the creator of the universe into a pocket-sized magic pill that would finally make us whole is not the solution. Christianity, at its best, does not promise you the eradication of this feeling of loss, but it frees you from the pursuit of it. Once we're free from the oppression of the idol, we find that embracing and loving life with all of its difficulties offers a much deeper and richer form of joy. Christianity, at its most radical, it's not the solution to the problem posed by separation and alienation. It places this entire framework into question. You might have heard it said that God is impassible and immutable, meaning that God is not affected by suffering, nor does God suffer, and that God never changes. I don't believe that at all. I believe in a creator who carries the loss of everything he has created. A creator that cares so deeply that it is affected by those things he cares and is changed by them. I think this is one of the things that makes us like God. We care, and we care deeply, more than we are willing to acknowledge. We carry those losses, and we can't do anything but be changed by the things we lost. In God, you and I are free to tap into those feelings of loss, and make peace with them, and let them teach us who we are, who we were. We are free to let loss remind us of how important the things we lost were to history, to us, and to God Himself. Let's hear our loss and make peace with it. Loss, our dark companion.